Welcome to the Temple of Limitless Light. This is a pathworking of to the Justice card, Lamed, and Crowley, it is the path of adjustment. It is a path connecting Gibura with Tippereth, and the Hebrew letter of Lamed, the ox code, that has some mysterious ties to the Fool card, which is the ox. Pathworking is the activity of traveling in the spirit vision all along the tree through the various paths that connect to the Sephirah and the Sephiroths themselves. We do this to explore the tree, to explore ourselves, to learn more about Kabbalah and Tarot. Here at the Temple of Limitless Light, you can join in these meetings if you like by joining us on Facebook, which I'll put in the link below. Everybody is welcome. So tonight we will do the pathworking of Lamed. We will begin doing a Qabbalistic cross so that we connect to our higher selves, ground, balance, and all hooked together as one big egregore, as a group mind. We experience this all together. Then I will do a lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram to create sacred space with a safe container that our sacred work can take place in. The next step will be I'll open the gateway, triangular gate, to the path of Lamed. Once inside, I'll do the Enochian call of pathworking, and then there'll be a guided visualization for the path. The guided visualizations come out of the Garden of Pomegranates, the version that's upgraded by the Ciceros. They have a website. If you buy your book from them, that usually comes signed. Highly recommend Tabitha and Chick Cicero, Golden Dawn Shop on the internet. Before we start, when do we read the path or the intro? Do you read that now or?
Yeah, why don't I read that now? So a guided visualization into the path of Lamed. In this pathworking, the student travels from Malkuth to Yesod to Tippereth and continues on the path of Lamed, where he encounters an old woman who guides him across the river. Read a minute.
No,
It's the wrong part. I'm sorry. The 22nd path of Lamed. The 22nd path is the faithful intelligence, and it is so called by its spiritual virtues are increased, and all dwellers on the earth are nearly under its shadow. The faithful intelligence relates this path to the concept of Amen, or faith. Amen also has the additional meaning of so mote it be, loyalty, and steadfastness. Those who remain faithful or loyal to the will of the eternal benefit from this alliance by receiving an increase in spiritual virtues. They also receive divine protection by dwelling under the shadow of the eternal. The faithful intelligence increases and dispenses the energies of the divine life force in an equilibrated and just manner. The Hebrew letter Lamed means ox goad, a tool used to guide an ox in the proper direction and out of harm's way. By analogy, the divine life force uses the energies of the 22nd path to guide us and teach us what we are to learn on our quest. Sometimes the lessons students must learn are harsh but necessary. This sort of justice always keeps us on the right path, ever moving forward in our spiritual progression. This path, leading from the sphere of perfect equilibrium, Tippereth, to that of severity, Gibura, maintains the balance of the entire tree. The challenge for students traveling this route is to educate themselves through the inner knowledge gained through meditative practice. They must put that knowledge to use and maintain their own sense of balance through the perpetual correction and regulation of thoughts and deeds. prodded on toward the correct path by karma. The student must make an effort to retrain his thoughts and calibrate his actions to better reflect the grace and equilibrium of the divine.
Excellent, thank you. The incense for the path is olabadnam. Now we will begin with the Kabbalistic cross. First, let's do some deep breathing. Breathe from our lower abdomen. Inhale deeply, gently. Just allow the air to flow out naturally. Try to sink into our bodies and feel the weight of our bodies on the floor, the chair, however our bodies are being supported. Move our awareness to that so that we can feel the density and weight of our bodies itself, grounded therein. And now visualize yourself growing larger and larger. Your head goes up through the ceiling, out into space, past the moon, until the earth is but a small ball beneath your feet. Above your head, visualize a ball of pure brilliance. Reach up, touch the brilliance, bring it down to your forehead, and vibrate. Bring the light down to your heart center, where you can silently say the name of your inner guru or teacher. And then bring the light down through the center of your being, past your feet, down to the fiery core of the planet. So you're standing in a ball of light, a column of light, and vibrate. Kingdom. Now bring the light up to your left shoulder. Visualize a ball of blue flame, representing compassion and unconditional love. Move the light across to your right shoulder. Visualize a ball of red flame, representing your will. Across your arms. Lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram to create sacred space. Yehovah. Izar. Dai. Home. Yeah. Uh, eh, da. Eh, Vaya. Before us, Raphael. Behind us, Gabriel. At our right hand, Michael. At our left hand, Uriel. For around us flame the pentagrams, and within it shines a six-rayed star. The gate of transformation. I open the gates between worlds. I invoke the guide who will assist us on our path into the inner worlds. I open the gates between worlds. I invoke the guardian who will challenge us in our journey and test us that we may prove ourselves worthy. I open the gates between worlds. I invoke the ordeal that we must go through to gain the boon of insight with which we seek. I open the gates between worlds. I open the path of Lamed. The Enochian call of gate. O el vinu de lonsa de ael chas triani odo e elioni. Antar a kami salahote azoni zoda lamed eoni asarte o al cicle la anta lo selque o el vinu de antar a kama de hote do a amaus de yadna o inu o monumas o do al balam o do o ano wanim o do al dia hei. From the path, Lamed. Behind your closed eyelids, the astral temple of Malkuth begins to formulate. You intone the divine names of Adonai Haaretz Tzadafam Ashi. The archangel Sandalphon emerges, and you exchange the usual signs. When she asks you why you have come to the temple of Malkuth, you hold up the white feather. The archangel escorts you through the portal of Tau in the east of the temple and up the 32nd path of Tau to the temple of Yesod. You announce your presence and are greeted by Gabriel, who gives you the astral sandals. The archangel of Yesod accompanies you up the path of Samek to the temple of Tipureth. You enter the temple with the projection sign. Once inside, give the sign of silence. The simple beauty of the six-sided temple of Tipureth is captivating. Gossamer veils of yellow spill down the walls, highlighting the golden ceiling and the central hexagram carved from topaz. The hexagram on the floor is accented by six large golden candlesticks. The golden altar in the center of the room is graced with a luminous flame and a six-sided square. You call forth the inhabitants of the temple by vibrating the names Yehovah, Eloah, Veda, Raphael, Meliki.
A sudden breeze animates the veils in the east of the sanctuary, where the winged archangel Raphael materializes, looking as youthful as ever and wearing robes of yellow with violet hexagram on the front. He addresses you. Behold the sphere of beauty and equilibrium. By what symbol dost thou enter herein? By the symbol of the feather of truth. You hold up the white feather. Okay. Satisfied, Raphael takes you northeast of the temple. Moving aside the yellow drapery, he reveals a green archway. On the keystone of the arch is the letter Lamed in brilliant white. Within the archway is a veil on which is depicted the tarot card of justice. Raphael traces the sigil of Libra. And parts the veil, exposing a door carved from emerald. Holding up the feather, you trace with it the letter Lamed. The door opens and you commence your journey on the 22nd path.
The path leads out into a wide, sand-covered plateau, scattered with stunted trees and desert scrub. The sun looms large overhead. It has an angry red color that is both beautiful and ominous. The air is hot and stifling. You hear the voice of Raphael speaking to you. It is written, "Arise and go thy way. Thy faith hath made thee whole." You start down the path, which leads off to the northeast. The trail leads downhill to a lush river valley. You are not certain what river flows through this valley, but it seems smaller than the Nile. But it occurs to you that it might be one of the Nile's tributaries. A herd of wildebeest grazes on the other side of the river. Ahead on the path, you see what looks like an old woman, her head almost completely covered by a tattered green shawl. The woman walks slowly behind a white fox. She periodically gives the burly beast a tap on the backside, along with a long wooden pole to keep it moving in the right direction. When she reaches a cliff overlooking the river, she stops the animal and sits down to rest on a rock near the edge of a fragile-looking rope and wood bridge that hangs precariously over the water. The ox decides to take the opportunity to graze.
As you approach her, you notice that the bridge isn't the only way across the river. The path splits into two routes. One path that leads down to a rope and wood bridge, and another that leads down to the water's edge, where a series of large flat rocks are conveniently placed for crossing the river. You greet the woman cordially. "The gods be with you," you tell her. "Walk in the ways of Ma'at." She replies. Then, considering your options, you decide to forego the fragile rope bridge and take the sturdy rock path across the river. You start down the path, but suddenly something strikes you sharply on the back of your shoulder. Your back throbbing with pain. You turn to see the old woman holding her wooden staff. "That hurt," you tell her. "Why did you hit me?" "You were about to take the wrong path," she tells you. "That way is very dangerous." You look at the stone path across the river. The rocks of the path are wide and dry. They are so close together that one could easily walk across the river without effort. The rope bridge, on the other hand, looks very precarious. It hangs at least 25 feet above the river. The ropes are old and frayed, and some have already broken. You shake your head. That way looks lethal, you tell her. It is a difficult route, the woman concedes, and it takes good sense of balance to get across. But have faith in yourself and trust in the higher powers, and you will make it. At least you can see what obstacles you are up against. The easy path, on the other hand, can be fraught with dangers that you do not even expect. She points to the river.
On the river bank below you, a lone wildebeest, seeking to join the herd on the other side of the river, makes its way to the beginning of the rock path. Gingerly, it steps on the first rock and slowly works its way across the stones. The animal is a third of the way across the river when suddenly, the head of a large crocodile erupts from the river water. The reptile grabs the helpless beast by the head and whips it into the muddy water. There is a great splash of water, and the drum is all over. The wildebeest didn't stand a chance. You are relieved that the old woman stopped you when she did, and you thank her for being concerned. She shakes her head and laughs. Is this the first time that you had a good look at her face? We have to cross farther up the river. My old ox always wants to take this path, she says. He doesn't know any better, but I keep him out of danger. I can't afford to lose old Montu. The two of you head up the path to the bridge. Watch your step when you cross, the woman tells you. Some of the wooden floorboards are fragile with age. Be light on your feet. Keep a firm grip at all times. Walk in the ways of Ma'at, and you will be fine.
Gingerly, you start across the bridge, gripping the ropes firmly and testing the strength of each board before trusting your weight to it. When you get about a third of the way across the bridge, it begins to swing back and forth. You have to work hard to maintain your equilibrium. Halfway across the bridge, you resist the urge to look down, knowing that it will only throw you off balance. Eventually, you make it all the way across. Relieved to reach the other side of the river, you wave back at the old woman, but she and the ox are nowhere to be seen. Ahead on the path, but still some distance away, you see the outlines of what appear to be 3 huge pyramids. As you get closer, you see that the largest pyramid is an awesome structure whose apex reaches into the sky. 2 smaller pyramids are on either side of the main one. You quicken your pace, intrigued by the possibility of exploring these structures. As you approach the largest of the 3 pyramids constructed from an enormous red-orange sandstone, its beauty becomes evident. You notice several hieroglyphics and relief sculptures carved into the surface. On either side of the main entrance are a pair of columns whose capitals are surmounted with sculpted lotus flowers. Before each column stands a gigantic muscular figure with the head of a jackal. Both figures are dressed in Egyptian garb. Their human bodies are covered by tunics, but their canine features, their black pointed ears and snouts, stick out beneath their nemesis. Both guardians are armed with spears.
As you approach the Anubian guards, they lunge forward with a growl, crossing their implements to block your advance. Thou cannot enter the hall of judgment, they snarl, unless thou can tell us our names. Anubis and Apawet, you answer, twin guardians of the hall of the goddess of truth. In what signs and symbols do we come, they ask. You answer, in the divine name of Yehovah, the permutation of the name Yod-He-Vah-He, and the symbol of the feather of truth. The figures step back. The god Apoet traces the symbol of Libra in the air before you with his weapon. In the sign of the scales, he says, thou art purified. The god Anubis traces the letter Lamed before you. In the letter of the cattle prod, the symbol of justice, thou art consecrated. Pass thou on. Anubis leads you into the pyramid, while Apoet remains at the entranceway.
You enter the structure and find yourself in a great hall with a black and white tiled floor. Two great pillars, one black and one white, resembling the feet of the two goddesses, dominate the hall. You recognize this chamber as the hall of dual manifestation, the place of the weighing of the soul. It is a place of judgment where the souls of the deceased are brought to receive whatever reward or punishment is deemed justified by their actions in life. An enormous pair of scales are at the center of the temple. Anubis takes his place by the center beam of the scales. It is his job to test their balance and watch over the proceedings. It is also his job to act as your protector, your public defender, so to speak. Just behind the scales, Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, acts as a scribe. He stands ready with a stylus and clay tablet to record the judgment. He also acts on behalf of the gods in the hall. Behind Thoth is a fierce-looking beast, which crouches menacingly in the shadows behind the altar. Part hippopotamus, part leopard, and part crocodile. It is Amut, the eater of the dead. His red eyes flash at you, accompanied by a low, rumbling growl and the sound of claws scraping the floor. Those souls who fail the judgment are declared to be false and devoured by the voracious Amut. You have no desire to tangle with this monster.
42 lesser gods sit stone still along the sides of the room, observing you like silent sentinels. But what strikes you most in this hall is the goddess who stands directly before you in front of the scales. She is a tall, commanding figure, dressed in robes of the most vibrant green. She holds a lotus wand and an ankh. The large white ostrich feather surrounds her headdress, tied into place by a thin band. The goddess regards you with dark eyes that suggest absolute calm and equal poise. She speaks to you in a quiet voice. Walk always in the ways of Ma'at. From the sound of her voice, you realize that the old woman you met earlier, who kept you from straying off the path, was none other than the goddess Ma'at in disguise. Holding up a feather, you address the goddess.
Beautiful one of the feather of truth, goddess Ma'at, holder of the balances, I beseech thee to act on my behalf. Aid me in this hall of judgment. I am a true and willing seeker of light and knowledge. My intentions are honest. I am ready to undergo test and trial. I wish to be purified and consecrated by the light. Grant that my heart is made Ma'at. Grant that my will is made Ma'at. Judge me fairly. Grant that this humble aspirant before you be not turned away from that resplendent light which resides in the east. Let my quest on the tree of life continue. The goddess speaks to you. I will judge you fairly, for I am Ma'at, the just, Ma'at, the law, Ma'at, the goddess of truth. Mine is the rule of law and order. My way is the path of purification that leads back to the eternal source. For he who is the fountain of the spirit of man came not to break, but to fulfill the law. Mine is the way of the righteous. Mine is the way of the holy. My path is straight and narrow, like the edge of the sword of judgment, which confers swift punishment on the wicked and bestows knighthood on the valiant warrior. My path can be severe, yet compassionate, like the slap of an ox goad against the back of an animal straying off course. If you speak with a true voice and your actions have proven honorable, then you need not fear this terrible call.
With the strength of conviction, you step forward and face the assembly of gods to await the judgment. The goddess Ma'et takes the white feather from you and holds it in her cupped hands. The feather turns into a piece of rose quartz shaped like a heart. The rose quartz heart is a symbol of all that you are, your experiences, your deeds, and your deepest spiritual aspirations. Ma'et places the jeweled heart into one of the scales. She takes the ostrich feather from her headdress and places it on the other end of the scale to be weighed against the purity of your heart. Then the goddess of truth assumes her throne before the scales. Let the judgment begin, she says. Thoth questions you with the determination of a prosecuting attorney. He asks you to describe all the symbols in the hall in detail. Luckily, you are familiar with these symbols from your studies. You answer all the questions to his satisfaction. The 42 lesser gods each question you in turn. Hast thou given due thought to the body inhabited by thee? Hast thou spoken unjustly in anger? Hast thou been undiligent in work? Hast thou lived in the light? Hast thou faced the mirror of self?
Their questions are hard, and the questions seem to go on forever. But you answer all the questions truthfully to the best of your ability. You are even ashamed of some of your own answers. But you are asked if you have ever condemned another person unfairly or hurt another person through your own actions. You are interrogated about using your spiritual knowledge to exalt your own pride. You are questioned if you have ever cheated another out of something that was rightfully someone else's. You're asked if you have ever taken the easy way out of a problem rather than taking the ethical or right way. The questions are grueling and uncomfortable, and you're sometimes forced to think long and hard before responding. But you answer all questions truthfully, as painful and as self-abrasive as it is to do so. The gods already know everything there is to know about you, so it would be foolish to evade their questions. The confessions you are making is a confession to yourself. The scales of Ma'at tip out of balance, and on the side with the stone heart, it's obviously heavier than the other. With every negative answer that tips the scale more in the direction of the heart, you feel your shoulder throb with pain where the old woman hit you with the ox goad. At the end of their questioning, you are drained but relieved, as if the negative confession had unburdened your soul of all of its private guilts and regrets.
Thoth records your answers and then asks you to defend yourself. State your case, he tells you. You address the gods collectively, summarizing all the positive deeds that you have done in your life, all those that you have helped in the time of need, the times you have sacrificed something for something higher, and the many prayers that you have uttered to the eternal spirit of the universe, and how you have endeavored to purify yourself for the great work. With every positive answer, the scales tips back in the direction of the feather. The pain of your shoulder lessens. Thoth beckons you forward and asks one final question. Who is he whose pylons are of flame, whose walls are of living uri, and the flames of those houses are streams of water. Osiris, he replied, when you have finished, the scales remain evenly balanced. The goddess Ma'et gives an approving nod and then addresses you. You have spoken truthfully, without evasion. I declare you Makaru, justified and true of voice. Child of Ma'et, purified and consecrated, you may approach the shrine in the east. The goddess takes the rose quartz heart from the scales and returns it to you.
Anubis leads you past the devouring beast, Amut, who growls in disappointment at missing a meal. You are brought to a shrine in the eastern part of the hall and instructed to kneel before an altar in front of the shrine. Then on a throne sits the reborn god Osiris. He wears the tall, white Stenu crown of the south, flanked by two plumes. From his chin hangs the royal beard of authority and judgment, and he holds the scourge of severity, the crook of mercy, and the phoenix wand. The children of Horus are at his feet, and the goddesses of the two pillars, Isis and Nephthys, stand directly behind him. After witnessing his death on the 24th path of Nun, you are overjoyed to see Osiris enthroned and radiant beyond all glory. In gratitude for being allowed to journey up the path of justice, you place the rose quartz heart, the symbol of all that you are and all that you hope to become, on the altar before Osiris. He reaches out and touches the crown of your head with the phoenix wand. The god speaks. Thy meat shall be from the infinite, and thy drink from the infinite. Thou art able to go forth to the initiatory feasts on earth, for thou hast overcome.
Your journey on the 22nd path of Lamed is at an end, and it is time to go. You return to the temple of Tipperath, descend the path of Samak to Yesod, continuing on down the path of Tau to Malkuth. On entering the temple of Malkuth, Sandalphon seals the portal of Tau behind you. You bid her farewell and salute her with the projection sign. She answers with the sign of silence. In the return journey. The gate of return. I open the gate between worlds. I summon the guide, which calls us back to the waking world. I open the gates between worlds. I summon forth the fierce guardian, shall bar our way if we are unworthy to return. I open the gates between worlds. I summon the ordeal, where we must transmute our individual insights into something universal. I open the gates between worlds. I open the path of return. We shall come forth by day. Uriel, we thank you for your grounding and inner contemplation. Gabriel, we thank you for the ecstatic states that you raise us to. Mikael, we thank you for your insight, guidance, and protection. Raphael, we thank you for the equanimity and balance that you bring to us.
Okay. By this merit, may all sentient beings know peace.
The ritual is complete. And meditate as long as you wish. you, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching our video.